Welcome! In this video, I will describe the process of configuring a load test scenario using CloudPuncher. A scenario is a set of configuration parameters which determine how CloudPuncher will execute a load test. A scenario contains the following sections: termination condition, determines how long a test will run; client allocation, controls how CloudPuncher allocates and terminates virtual clients during a load test; test composition, configures what allocated clients should do, what type of browser they emulate, and where they are geographically located; and monitoring, which configures server-side monitoring for a load test. Let me show you how to create and edit a scenario. First, log into your account and find your test on the My Tests page. Click the Edit Run link button. Alternatively, if you do not have a test, launch the Test Manager by clicking the Launch Test Manager button. In the Test Manager, locate your load test, click the Scenarios node, and click the New Scenario button. If you already have a scenario, you can expand the Scenarios node and simply select your scenario. When you create a new scenario, the wizard consists of 5 steps. In the first step, you need to assign a name to your scenario. Click Next to move on to the next step, which is Test Duration. Test duration controls how long your test will run. There are several options to choose from. One of the options is a fixed duration. Using that option, you can specify that a test will run for a predetermined period of time, which can range from 1 minute to 100 hours. Other options provide support for conditional test termination. These options include stopping the test when the server returns an error, or by selecting this option, it can be a configurable number of errors. Finally, there is an option to stop the test when the server's response time becomes greater than the number of milliseconds you specify in this configuration. The next step is called Client Allocation. This is where you can configure how CloudPuncher should create or remove virtual clients. There are 3 client allocation profiles to choose from: step ladder, intervals, and user-defined. Using the step ladder profile, you can specify the initial client count, step interval in minutes, and the increment count. For instance, in this allocation example, CloudPuncher will start with 100 users and will add 500 users every 3 minutes until the termination condition occurs. Let's take a look at the intervals profile. With this option, there are 2 user counts, high and low. When a test is running, CloudPuncher maintains these 2 levels at the time intervals you specify. There is an interval for both low and high user counts. For example, in this test, CloudPuncher will be allocating 500 virtual users, which will run for 20 minutes. Then it will terminate some users and keep only 100 of them. These 100 users will run for 10 minutes. This process will repeat until the termination condition is met. Finally, the third allocation profile is called user-defined. Unlike with other profiles, here you can create a client allocation chart simply by dragging points on the chart. You can also add or remove points to create new client allocations, terminations, or plateaus. Also, the scale of the chart can be easily adjusted by setting a new maximum number of clients, which modifies the y-axis scale. Moving on to the next step, Test Composition. In this step, you can configure what the allocated clients should do and the type of browser they emulate. If you recorded more than one workflow, you can assign a percentage of the allocated clients to each of the workflows. The user interface makes it very easy. Simply use the slider for a workflow to set how many clients, percentage-wise, will run the requests from that workflow. For instance, in this case, you can see that this workflow has 80% of the users, while the remaining 20% will be executing requests from the other workflow. Likewise, you can also set the percentage of the allocated clients to emulate different web browsers. Simply drag the sliders for the browser types and distribute the users between them. You can always reset the allocation to be equally distributed by clicking the Reset button. The final step in the scenario configuration is monitoring. Here you can download and install CloudPuncher's server-side monitoring software. Using server-side monitors, you can get an extra level of details which will help you determine the root cause of the performance problems. Server-side monitors are reviewed in another video, so I will skip it here. To finalize scenario configuration, click the Finish button. CloudPuncher displays a summary of the scenario settings. You can change data in any of these sections by clicking the Edit button corresponding to a section. This concludes the overview of CloudPuncher scenario configuration. Happy load testing!